Yeah, we had some guitar players over here today, and cranked up the sixth string. He did a good job. That kid could play. He's a kid. He could play. He could. Of course, he played all the Led Zeppelin stuff and all that junk, And then I was telling him, I said, Led Zeppelin, they one of those guys, I don't know, Plant or Page bought the old Aleister Crowley castle. And he's like, yeah, that's a myth. I said, what do you mean it's a myth he bought the castle, or it's a myth that they're all satanic? It's no myth he bought the castle, that's for sure. That's exactly what they did. They bought Aleister Crowley's castle. Now, they could buy any damn castle they want anywhere. Why'd they have to buy that one? Are they looking for the child sacrifices or what? Why? To sell more records? Is that worth it? You bring that money with you to hell? Can't bring it to heaven. I don't think you'll let you bring it to hell. They probably use money in hell to roast you. I know they use it to roast us up here. You see, the trouble is Owen Benjamin, that guy. He talks about all this, Jew sniping, Hitler was a great man type of stuff. But that's the same thing that Omar and the Islams are saying. The same exact thing. So is this guy working for Hamas and Islam? Because they really want to destroy America. They hate dogs. They don't hate Jesus. They say he's not God. They respect Jesus as a prophet. Prophets don't lie. Jesus ain't going to say he's God's son if he's not. So they're just wrong. Anyway, and they know they are. They're just being, they're kings of the earth are digging their heels. But the point is, in their little enclaves in these towns in the United States, these are hot spots of Hamas and the Shari law or Sherry law or whatever they call it, that freaking crazy law where you you mutilate children, you mutilate young girls at birth. You rape men who don't have facial hair, and you rape women that show more than a square inch of flesh. It's just cuckoo, ridiculous. It's like, when they pass all the anti-Semitic laws and say, never again are we going to have an Auschwitz. Never again. Everybody's looking at the Germans like how, what a bunch of friggin' what a bunch of Neanderthals they are. Look what they did. They stood by and watched all the Jews get murdered. You have the Democrats talking the same crap, knowing how rotten how nasty those concentration camps were, knowing how they murdered these people by gassing them by the hundreds so that they'd end up in human pyramids with the oldest and weakest on the bottom and the strongest on the top getting the last breath of fresh air. We're trying to turn whatever. It's just anybody who condones that kind of mayhem, murder, hatred, and idiocy is anti-human. In fact, the very thing they accuse other people of is being beasts, because I guess the old Shah or whatever had killed 100,000 Christians, and he said, we didn't kill anybody. As he, quixotically, Quixotely, yeah, that's a good one. Quixotely, Quixotely, as they cavalierly say they didn't kill any humans, they just killed 100,000 beasts. Ha ha, because they were Christians, they weren't humans. That's pretty funny. Pounding these things early, pounding the guitars. Very loud. This guy hadn't had a bath in 2 months. That's why I'm wiping it down, man. Because, I hope he doesn't watch this, but he knows I'd say it to his face anyway. I don't like to say things behind people's backs that I wouldn't say in front of their face. In fact, I'm so notorious that I usually, if I do say something behind somebody's back, I make sure I say it to their face. Just even when it comes out of the blue, they're like, "What the hell was that?" Sorry, man. I said that behind your back the other day, and I made a PowerPoint, to say it to your face as soon as I got the chance or remembered. Anyway, this guy, when I seen him at his camp, Jesus placed it in my head to go to their camp today, which I did. He was drunk, and he was coming from one of the parts of their camp. They have two houses kind of built in this empty lot. And he was coming out of the camp drunk, nearly falling over. And he was so happy to see me, because I've been going there and kind of helping him out. I met him there at the gas station. An old friend of mine was working at the gas station. And I stopped there on Sunday on my way from the Catholic Church, The trouble is, the last time I went to the Catholic Church was last summer, maybe. It was the only church I knew. I was coming from work. I work at the hotel, the Berkeley Carteret in Asbury Park. I was a night engineer, whatever. And I was coming home I would get off at 7:00, and there was a church on the way home in West End, and so I stopped at the church and would do my worshiping. Of course, it was the most boring ceremony ever. The Catholic priests don't preach. They're like rabbis. They just talk. Ask for money, 2 collections. So they know they're going to probably get $1, at least $2, whatever. But most people now put in 5 or whatever. It was just a totally empty experience. The Catholic Mass, not exactly empty. I mean, just whatever you make out of it. The people in there are pretty sincere, apparently. But anyway, this girl had sent me, English person had sent me this picture of a mansion on an enclave on some kind of island somewhere where all these pederast priests are hiding out. Now, people always ask me about the Catholic Church. It's very simple. If you, like in England, I've said this before, in England, if you wanted to get away with murder, rape, and arson, you joined the priesthood, because they didn't have regular courts. They had cleric courts, whatever. They didn't have secular courts. They didn't prosecute their priests. So you were one of those, a raper or molester, whatever, you became a priest. That was not the sin. Well, it's the individual sin, but it was not a sin of the church collectively until they started not prosecuting these criminals. You see? The Catholic Church was not so reprehensible until they tried to hide it all. Now, when I looked in my pocket, I had $15. I'm like, am I gonna really give $5 so that they can hide more Man, I can't consciously donate my money, or I can't finance men who destroy little boys' lives. That is the worst crime you can commit. Abortion, it's like committing an abortion on a kid that's already alive, because you destroy his soul by doing that to him. And I wonder how many souls they destroyed. And it's also, if you look into the medical research behind it, even not even the mental research that has been done behind it, and the therapeutic stuff. Children that are usually molested, young men that are molested. And I understand in Cuba it was really bad. Ronaldo Arenas was a writer back in the 70s, I guess, or maybe the 60s. I don't know. I saw this, a friend of mine told me to get the movie. It was called, I forget what it's called. There were several movies, like The Sea Inside, The Wishing Well, whatever. This man was a homosexual Cuban intellectual writer. I don't know about how much of an intellectual, but the books he wrote were about orgies of homo sexual orgies. Like there would be 15 homosexuals on the beach, him and his buddies, and they would have a bunch of soldiers come up. And first they'd be all scared because they think the soldiers, and then all of a sudden the soldiers are like dancing with him and having sex with him. So this guy claims, Ronaldo Arenas, who died of AIDS in New York City after he got, I think he sent the first, his book, well, I know he smuggled a book out, his books out of Cuba, but his books were all about being raped several times when he was young, like by his uncle sitting on the horse in front of him. It was just disgusting anyway. But he'd been raped several times. But he said he had sex with 2,000 men before he was 18 years old. I think that was the comment. It was either 18 or 20, I'm not sure. But 2,000, having sexual relations with 2,000 men. And I don't know if he meant different men or 2,000 times, but I think it was 2,000 men by the time he was 18, 20. That was Cuba. I don't think Puerto Rico was much different because I understand I knew a couple of people who said that they were raped by the time they were 8 years old. And the old joke, of course, is the only Cuban virgin is a girl under 8 years old who can outrun her father and brothers. Funny as that may be to Owen Benjamin, who works for Hamas and Islam, or he may be too stupid to be working for them, but he is advocating what they say. And if he's not getting paid for it, then he's such a dupe. Well, aren't we all? Well, I'm not anymore because I got God smacked. I was always a born-again Christian since I was 16. Not really practicing because I had huge problems. I'm not going to blame it all on Charles Darwin, but I'll be damned if I'm going to lie and say that I didn't have a huge problem with the Old Testament because of me coming from a monkey or a fish. Like fish climb onto the land and they climb off. I so had a problem with natural selection, like growing fangs, claws, legs to run away, whatever. That's natural selection, not a daddy long legs putting out a chemical that inebriates its predators. Not an octopus that can change colors in a flash and has photofluorescent flashing on and off, or the deep sea creatures that all flash back and forth. How is that natural selection? How is it natural selection when an elm tree puts out a seed with wings on it? What'd they do? Just keep dropping leaves in different directions until one started flying and then that worked? Are you kidding me? You think a warm little pond created a computer? Where do you think music came from? Let's see, where the strings would have been Weeping Willow. No, it's that. Flutes. Those are some of the first instruments. I think the wing bone of an eagle was one of the first flutes they found. And you know, another weird thing is I've got this book of ancient stuff, you know, like growing, still alive, and it's all these trees and shrubs, weird, some of it, you know, whatever, weird looking stuff. The oldest one is not over 4,000 years. Why is that? It's such a coincidence. The oldest one is not more than 4,000 years old. Oldest trees ever. I mean, these things, 4,000 years, that's a long time, man. Before Christ. Also, I was reading Exodus, and it said something about 1,000 generations. See what I do when I get playing this stuff and I start thinking about everybody I hate for whatever reason. I mean everyone. Well, I mean, I try to go through it, and I just found one that I actually had to forgive for. I even went and found him in an old folks' home in my head. First, I was going to punch him in his face, and then I decided to love him. That's kind of funny, I guess. I don't know what's funny anymore. I really don't. God's funny. I know that. I know that. But I don't know how funny I am. Telling Owen Benjamin, first place, that he'd be an anti-American. Maybe he wasn't aware. That's a possibility, I guess. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But I told him that if he joins Islam, they're going to make him get rid of his dog. That's true. You know, Christ teaches us to love everybody. It's too cold, kid. You ain't going nowhere. Christ teaches us to love everybody. But I think hating Islam is really okay. Probably one of the few things you can really hate and be blessed doing it. I don't want the fall of individual people, just that God-forsaken religion. They call it a religion. It's just hatred bottled up and spewed out and murderously. Any Muslim that lives in a Muslim town will tell you the law that they have there, the Sharia laws, are better than the laws of the United States. Why don't they go back to wherever they came from and they can implement their laws until the cows come home? But doing it here is not going to last long, because when I get the opportunity, I'm going to get a busload of happy people and go visit them in these towns and find out where the mutilation shops are and all that nasty stuff, and we're going to shine a big fat light on it. Gonna be swallowed into hell. All you need some love, need some force the will. Don't be so weak and Lord, that love will come. country I hate. You ain't gonna be accepted here, so know this. Jesus with a kiss trade. We are blessed people, we can see all evil like a flag it's waving in front of us. Jesus said, tell the tree by the fruit it shed. Well, look at it run. Murder and hatred they spawn. Why is the young people that they exploit them before they mature? Why is this happening? Jesus said it's the worst thing you do. Overtake one of these people and lead them astray. Better if you jump in the play with a millstone around. All like you are. Oh, kids now, they have noticed in their sign. Oh, the line watching them. Yes, sir, man. These little enclaves of Islam in this country, practicing voodoo, mutilation of children, rape on women and children and men, a law unto themselves right here in our country, under our noses, in Minnesota, home of the Vikings. Come on, people, what the hell? Has nobody got any... Does nobody even feel this? Does nobody have a heart left in them? What happened? Where's your passion, people? Lord help us get some passion. passion was bad. Passion's a good thing if you pursue goodness with passion instead of evil. I just read a whole thing in Numbers, Leviticus, one of the, I think it was Numbers, but they're talking about this guy, Balak, trying to curse Israel through Balaam, the one whose donkey started talking to him, saying, "What do you beat me for, man?" The donkey started talking to Balaam. Balaam's ass, or whatever, Balaam, whatever his name is, Balaam, Balaam, his ass. He was going around this hill, and the angel of the Lord is standing in front of him with a sword, and the ass keeps turning out of the way because they would have been killed. Well, the ass wouldn't have been killed, the angel said, but Balaam starts beating the monkey. He starts beating the donkey. Saying, "Why are you turning out of the way?" And then the next time the donkey turned, he turned into the side of the mountain, crushed Balaam's leg, and he beat him with his rod. And the donkey turns around and goes, "What are you hitting me for?" He said, "Because you're mocking me. That's why I'm hitting you." He goes, "I'm not mocking you." He said, "I saved your life 3 times. There was an angel of the Lord standing in front of us." And so finally Balaam saw the angel of the Lord drawing sword standing in front of him and said, "Oh, but the issue here is that Balaam was hired through thaumaturgy, which is like magical arts, to curse Israel, which was going through the wilderness at the time, coming from Egypt. And God had blessed Israel and stated that I am going to bless those who bless them and curse those who curse them. Now the sons of the princes of Moab wanted the Israelis cursed, so they hired Balaam to do that. And of course, Balaam could not go against God because he also stated that God cannot lie. So God said that he's going to bless these people, so that's just the way it is. He couldn't curse them when God had said he's blessing them, because God said he's going to bless them. He doesn't change his mind. He says only men lie and then repent. God doesn't lie or repent. He's perfect. He's pure love and pure truth. And the part where Moses wanted to see God, he wanted to see God's radiance, his glory. Oh my God, it's just, Harry Potter, move out. This is reality. And so God held, put Moses in the crag of a rock and held his hand in front of Moses. Well, he said, the Hebrew term was in the soft of the palm of his hand, the word for the soft of the palm of your hand. So God cupped his hand around Moses. So he couldn't see God by the face, but he could see God pass by. You could see the back end of God as God passed. And so God passed by and he saw the back end of God, the radiance. And of course, Moses' face was all radiant when he went up to talk to God. Of course, he was up there with God writing the 10 Commandments for 40 days. He probably didn't know it. He probably didn't want to come down. Like when people go to heaven and Jesus says, "Well, you don't want to go back down?" That one guy who was on that guy, I forget his name. He was from New Zealand. He had gotten hit by a box jellyfish and he was dying. Or he died on the way to the hospital in the back of the ambulance. But he had asked Jesus to save him. I got the chills on that one. He asked Jesus to save him right before he died. And of course, he went to heaven, saw Jesus. He said, the most inexpressible, unword-puttable, as nobody can ever express, the love and compassion, the radiance of this love and compassion and light that comes from God. How many near-death experiences do you have to see before you start believing that they're all pretty much the same, man? You go to heaven or you go to hell. Jesus is there or he ain't. And when he ain't, it's a problem. Huge problem. Ugly, scary problems. I was listening to one of John's letters today, and it said that John mentions, and I believe they're talking about John of Patmos, which is also John the Gospel, also John of Revelations, also John that Jesus loved, and also John that everybody thought was never died, because Jesus said, if I wanted to keep him around, what is it to you? Peter, you're the rock. Mind your own business. You build the church. Peter, apparently man has got the will to do right or well. And I don't know. They knew Christianity was going to spread, but it's such a wonderful thing. I don't man could never have seen how wonderful Christianity was going to be. I mean, the men who implemented this love and spiritual goodness and whatever, it's, true Christians you will never see doing what they think is against the will of Christ. And if they really have Christ in their heart, they can't do evil. I mean, they can, but not intentionally. I mean, not, they know what they're doing. In other words, they know the difference between right and wrong. Maybe not on a finite basis or a micro basis or whatever, but in general, you kind of know. He says, I mean, he tells you all kinds of things in the Bible, like, you didn't feed me when I was hungry, you didn't give me water to drink when I was thirsty, and you didn't clothe me when I was cold, and you didn't come see me in jail. And they're like, Lord, what are you talking about? We never seen you in jail. And he goes, well, when you didn't do it for the least of these, you didn't do it for me. So when you go around, like even the apostles talk about, if when people come into you hungry and homeless, and you pray for them and give them a pat on the back and send them away, still hungry and homeless, you've done them no service at all. So you can't necessarily go past a homeless person or a hungry person and let them remain hungry. You go help them. And it ain't necessarily you helping them, it's Christ helping them. Like this poor old lady at the Collingswood auction, I gave her a few bucks. Because there was nothing I could buy. She had, so I just gave her a few bucks. She told me thank. I said, don't thank me, thank Jesus. Jesus gave this to you. I didn't give it to you. I wouldn't have given it to you because I'm cheap or whatever. I said, I need the money, Jesus doesn't need it. And so she said, okay. And I pointed, no, not me. Anyway, so like I guess later on, I came walking past her again. And we made eye contact and she's, lit up a little bit and she said, thank you. I said, and I pointed up and, there's just, whatever. That lady could have had 10 grand in her pocket. I don't know. And then the other guys, they're drinkers. I guess I was being arrogant and show off when I gave them 20 bucks. I don't have the money, of course. I can't even, whatever. But, obviously I had the money. But I know they went out and bought beer with it, because I think I went there the day after or whatever. But they had work that day, and he was drinking the beer, but he kept puking, man. The older one, there's an older one and a younger one, Mike and Dan, and they're good guys. They're just homeless. They, and they were trying to work doing windshields over at the gas station or whatever. But I don't know. They had some problems. And one of the kids who worked there, wanted all the money or something. Oh, the battery's done. Okay. We got to go, so we'll do something here quick. Wait a minute, here we go. Sorry, battery's dead, that's why that happened. So I got to take it away, so we're going to do one more. He was showing me some chords today that I actually...
to